Sales Nation, do you feel stuck in your sales career? Do you feel like you keep doing the same old activities over and over, the activities that you think that work, but each year it gets harder and harder to hit your quota? Do you feel like you're pushing a huge rock, a huge ball, a huge boulder up a steep hill every single year to get deals done and hit your sales targets, and this hill's getting steeper and steeper as time goes on? Well, then it's likely you're in what we call the desert of sales. And in this video, I'm going to explain exactly what the heck the desert is and how you can break through it to get to a place where salespeople start to earn insane commissions fast. So let's jump right into it. Now, before I can explain exactly how you get through the desert, I've got to explain to you how you've ended up there. Makes sense, right? So most salespeople, well, they get typically 1 day of sales training a year if they're lucky. The rest of the time, when they're selling, they're doing what they think works. They're guessing what works rather than having done training and working on the back of that. Now, does this sound like a recipe for success? Of course not. So take a moment right now as you're watching this video and ask yourself, are you improving your sales performance every single day? Are you working on yourself? Are you training in sales skills? If not, then you need to start doing so, because if you train your sales skills every single day, well, this rock starts to get smaller and smaller and smaller until it becomes a lot more manageable and a lot easier to push up this hill to hitting quota. Now, the alternative, and you might be going down this route to improving your sales skills and making this rock here smaller, is to try and what we call hustle harder. You'll have heard that hustle term being thrown around relentlessly at the moment, right? Now, the issue with trying to just hustle harder is that this hill right here, well, it gets steeper and steeper over time. The longer that you're in sales, the longer that you're in the marketplace, this hill is getting steeper. New competitors enter the market, or the market shifts like it has done with the coronavirus, and buyer priorities change in an absolute instant. And this makes the hill get steeper over time. Now, you can't defeat the market. You can't flatten the hill yourself. As an organization, they can have a good bash at it. But you as an individual salesperson, rightly or wrongly, it's just not within your remit to try and tackle this hill and flatten it off. So how do you win this game? You've got to change the other variable. You need to make this big, ugly, difficult to push rock. You've got to make it smaller so that it becomes a lot easier to push towards your target of quota. You do this by improving your sales skills, because when you improve your sales skills, deals get done quicker and easier. So this metaphorical ball that we've got to push towards our quota gets smaller and smaller. Get it? It's pretty simple, right? But this is where it all falls apart, because salespeople don't do this. They don't work on themselves. And sales leadership doesn't help them either. They're not helping their sales teams. Sales leadership know that their sales teams improving their sales skills can be tough. And so they try and hack the system. They try and adjust this hill instead. So one example of how sales leaders try and hack the hill is they try and enforce They try and enforce that their sales team use sales automation. So if their sales team's reply rate to cold emails is 1%, right? Rather than improve the sales skill of the team and increase this number to 20%, which seems like the logical thing to do, they instead invest in automation. The issue is that sending 1,000 crappy emails a day via sales automation, right? It doesn't really make the rock any smaller than sending 100 emails a day that are converting at 20%. And you're not adjusting the height of the hill. It doesn't get any less steep. And so by using automation, you're going back to square one. And this leaves salespeople who have a couple of years of experience in selling in a weird spot, because they're no longer beginners. And so they can't blame their lack of success on a lack of experience. And they're getting frustrated and they feel stuck in their careers as, well, they can't push that ball any faster. Physically, it just can't happen. And the hill's always getting steeper and steeper over time. And they feel like they're not living up to their potential. And so what happens? Well, they tend to quit. They go into management and become this sales leadership that's disillusioned to all of this, or they just change jobs completely. Now, this period where people quit in sales, we call the desert. And the desert is typically the third part of the average salesperson's career. Now, the average salesperson's career typically has 4 discrete sections. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. And if we count up here as revenue, so revenue goes up all the time, what happens when people are beginners? They have an increase in revenue, and then they become proficient where you're hitting target most of the time, you're doing reasonably well. Then you hit what we call the desert, and there's usually a slight dip here, which is interesting. We'll come back into that second. And if you can get through the desert, this is where you get to remarkable. This is where incredible things happen. This is where you go from earning 100 grand in sales to multiple millions if you're in the right job and you hit remarkable at the right time. So here you can see revenue can dip down slightly during this period of being in the desert. And this is weird, right? Because you'd think that salespeople who've been selling for this amount of time, well, their commissions, their bonuses, their revenue would go up. Now, unfortunately, this isn't the case because as the hill continually gets steeper and that ball isn't changing in size anymore because the ball was here. It was this big, then it got smaller. Now it's the same size as here. Because the individual isn't doing any more sales training, but the hill is getting steeper, the actual performance of the individual goes down. This is why they get disillusioned. This is why salespeople quit. This is why salespeople go into management rather than waiting out, rather than pushing through to get to this end of the scale, which is where salespeople become remarkable. And it's worth breaking through the desert because on this side, where salespeople become remarkable, there's incredible advantages. Remarkable salespeople, according to our data over at salesman.org, sell twice as much as the average salesperson. They have incredible job security, as what sales manager in their right mind would let a remarkable salesperson go who's driving all of this extra revenue on their team? And if you're not remarkable right now, if you're stuck here in the desert, if you're stuck here, well, I've got some good news for you. The good news is that salespeople who get through the desert and get too remarkable, well, all they have to do is work on 4 separate things each day, and you can work on them too. What they're working on is, first off, they are improving their personality. You're going to see a trend here of the different P's. So there are 12 personality traits that can pull you towards remarkable or push you back towards the desert. And we cover these personality traits all the time on this channel. So make sure to click subscribe for more information on that. Next up, number 2, we have number P. You need to become more proficient. You need a measurable, systematic selling process in order to have success in modern B2B sales. Next, number 3, you've got to raise your profile. Now, put it this way. If Warren Buffett called you up and told you that he had a deal for you, but you're going to answer the phone immediately, you're going to agree with whatever he's pitching without seeing any contracts or paperwork, and you're going to get the deal done. That is the power of having a high or big or exceptional profile. And it's actually relatively easy for a salesperson to become a well-known thought leader and expert in the industry. So the better your profile in your industry, the easier it is to get deals done. And finally, number 4, this is something that's often forgotten about. You're going to have risk-free practicing. So every other professional on the planet practices. Sales professionals, sales professionals in brackets here in inverted commas, but they're the only professionals on the planet that don't practice. Professional golfers go to the driving range. Surgeons practice on surgical simulators. Salespeople, though, they tend to run away from practice because it usually means this, right? Role playing. And salespeople hate role playing. Salespeople are scared of looking stupid in front of their colleagues, and so they will avoid role playing at all costs. So you need to find a risk-free way of practicing if you're going to make it through the desert. We've got a tool over at salesman.org that allows you to practice risk-free. So that is personality, proficiency, profile, and practice. That's everything that you need to become remarkable in sales. And if you work on these 4 Ps every single day, if we pull this over here and we go back to the original diagram with the massive weight that we're trying to get up, and this is going higher and higher every single moment of the day. And we've got the person, you may be trying to push this ball up there towards success, and this is where your quota is. Well, when you practice these 4 things every single day, this ball gets smaller and smaller and smaller until it's just a marble-sized ball that you put in your pocket, and you just continue to move forward every single day, and you achieve your target over and over and over again like clockwork. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, you're going to love my video on how to become list proof and separate yourself from all of the competition out there in the marketplace right now. So that's on the screen right now. Click that video and jump in, and I'll see you in there.